Hey everyone, what I really wanted to talk to you today is about, in your business, how to deal with global issues or a crisis that might be isolated to your city or to your state or to your country, or even, dealing with things that are global. But how do you survive in your business when this happens? But then also what precautions you can take and how to keep moving forward. So law is a great way to have as a starting point. And I will be talking about the law today, and I will be also talking about some practical elements of business and law. And I don't know if you guys have noticed yet, but I love applying law on a practical level because I believe that it's very important to integrate law into your business on a daily rather than just reverting to it when there's crisis or reverting to it when there is contention. Because really, we should have incorporated the practical side of law to our daily practices of business. Because when we do that, we're already ahead of the game and we're already protecting ourselves and we're creating a lot of goodwill on the way, which is so important for businesses. And we're also creating a very solid foundation for our business. So I'm going to start with the law. Hopefully, in most of your business relationships, whether it's a B2B business or a B2C business, you have a contract in place. And hopefully, that contract also has a clause in it that is called the force majeure clause. This clause is your BFF clause in a point of crisis. And because this clause basically says that if any type of event happens, or an act of God, or a crisis event, then that is out of the control of either party, and it renders the party the inability to follow through with their contractual obligations, then it gives you an out. It gives you an out under the contract. It also gives you time. It also gives you leverage and leniency within that contractual obligations to not fulfill your contractual obligations. And in application, what that means is in China, there are lots of manufacturing facilities there, and they provide a lot of products for people globally, for companies globally. And while each country has their own contractual laws and the way they interpret the laws, but most of these contracts do have the force majeure clause in it. And a lot of Chinese companies have now used that clause because they just can't fulfill their contractual obligations right now. And so that clause may or may not hold up. Maybe the other companies may not allow, those Chinese companies to use it, or they might, protest against it, or they might say, no. Whatever it is, it may be contested, it may be disputed, but at least they have something to say, listen, we couldn't do anything. Our entire country was shut down. We were not even allowed to go to our businesses, let alone have a conversation with our family members who live outside of our house. So, all these things come into play. And so what I really want you guys to do is that if you really want to stay open for business for a long, long term, then you really need to stay open to many other things in life. So one of those three, I'm going to talk about three things that you need to stay open to. One is having open communication in your business. Two, having an open mind. And then three, being open to resolutions. Because if we aren't showing compassion towards others, and if we aren't showing leniency when we are all in the same boat, then that really speaks volumes about our business also, and our business model, and our, just the culture that we have in our company. And so what I want to talk about is, first of all, this force majeure clause, right? You want to have open communication and dialogue with your company. And the first thing to do in your business is to have a contract, because really contracts are just another layer of protection for your business. And this force majeure clause essentially gives you that out. It also gives leniency, like I said before. And if you have that up in the front end, then people understand that, hey, listen, if there's a hurricane and there's massive flooding in the city, then that triggers a force majeure clause, hopefully, because you're not able to follow through with your contractual obligations and it's completely out of your control. But what's important is that usually in these clauses, there is a date of notice. And that's very important because you need to give the other party notice immediately. As soon as you find out that, oh gosh, we just can't do it, give the other party notice. And usually there is like a date defining that notice. It could be 5 days, it could be 10 days. It just depends on the contract clause that you have. And you need to give that notice. And once that notice is given, then the conversations can start happening. And you can talk about what's going on. And hopefully they've heard about it. Hopefully there might be some knowledge about it. And especially with coronavirus, I feel like we're all in the same boat. We're all dealing with it. Whether you're dealing with it in China or in America or in EU or in Italy, we're all dealing with it. And so there should be some sense of understanding there, and that open communication and dialogue of how you can't do X, Y, and Z because of that. When these things are happening, you know that there's something going on, and you know that you have to be ready to take some type of impact from it. So be open to the communications that are coming towards you. If your clients or your brands or the companies that you're working with just can't fulfill their side of the deal, be open to communication about it and understand. Because quite frankly, you are probably already in their shoes with somebody else, and you've already fulfilled the same type of role that they're fulfilling right now. Or you might be in that role too, which then leads to having an open mind. Have an open mind about resolution. Have an open mind about understanding what they're saying and see where they're coming from, because maybe you personally, your business is not as impacted. We just need to have open communication and an open mind to understand that, and then which leads to having open to resolution. Because having that conversation is important, having an open mind is important, but you also have to have the heart to resolve it. And generally what happens is that the force majeure clause gives you that time to resolve it. It says, generally it might say, if within 30 days or 60 days or however many days it might say, if there's no remedy found, then XYZ might happen. But at the end of the day, you want to find a resolution. You want to be able to say, hey, listen, I can't do this now, but in the future, maybe we can do XYZ. Or, show some type of willingness to find a remedy, and also a willingness to find a solution. Because if there is no solution, then that business relationship will fail, and it will ultimately impact your business also. And you need to be able to find that resolution as well. So it's super important. And I know this is like all practical knowledge, but these are the things that we can do right now because we don't want to face a lot of impact. But, on a practical level also, you have maybe events that are canceling last minute. You have third-party vendors that are in there, and all of, your events are just like domino effect canceling. What do you do? And it's really on a case-by-case basis, and it's really also what you feel like doing. Of course, the contract gives you some guidance on what you should and shouldn't be doing. But then also, as a party to the contract, you also have the ability to step back and say, you know what, I will give you your money back. If your event is, say, three months down the line, but people have canceled it because they're like, we don't know what's going to happen, then you've not done a lot of work, then, it's up to your discretion. Do you want to give them the deposit back because you've not done a lot of work on it? Or do you want to just give some money back based on like, what, the event is literally in 2 weeks, we have to cancel it, but I'll take money for all the costs that have been incurred. I'll keep that money, but everything else will be refunded to you. Or it could also be where you are, another option is where you're saying, yes, I know that the event's in a month, and I have kept that slot for you. I didn't give it to anybody else, and I had like 3 other people that wanted that date. I'll just take my cost, and everything else I'll give back to you. It's really just what you feel like doing. It's discretionary, and that discretion allows you to give grace. That discretion also allows you to create goodwill, but then that discretion allows you also to be in control of how you are managing your business, and also to see what is viable for you as well in order for your business to stay alive. And so for the future, if you guys don't have the force majeure clause, please add it. If you don't even have a contract, please get one. But then also, this is the time when you can sit down, reevaluate your business practices, and also think about, what do we do in times of crisis? And do you live in a city that is impacted often? I live in Houston. We have so many floods here. That should definitely be part of your plan A, B, and C for your business. And you should have that in time of crisis. This is what's happening. Status quo is plan A. And then plan B should be what happens if these things can happen. And you should have a plan A and plan B and plan C. And this is the time to really think about it. And this is the time to really start strategizing for the future, because all of this is insurance for you. All of this. Yes, it may not be a real insurance company, but this is stuff you are already doing. You're preparing, you're strategizing, and you're getting your business even more rock solid than before. So I hope this helped you. Bye.